welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. On today's episode of the show, we're going to give out our final 25-26 Fantasy Football Awards. Thank you very much if you've been riding with us all season with all the rankings, all of our stuff throughout the season. We very much appreciate all the fan support here at Prime Sports World. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast if you like what we're doing here. I'm David On Point Hupping right there, Mr. Israel Rivera. And don't forget, bear down, baby. Bear down. Izzy, what's up, man? Happy Wednesday, brother. You are currently muted, brother.
All right. You can hear me now. I currently I got to hear enough of that bullshit on the other show that I was chopping up last night. And it made me sick to my stomach. Just let you guys know that. Made me sick to my stomach, man.
Also, we got a shout out over there on the YouTube from Sam and Carson. We appreciate that. Give us a like, share, and subscribe if you like what we're doing here at Prime Sports World. Thank you very much for joining us. We're just going to wrap up the season here. We'll give you some rankings in a couple more weeks. But this is kind of like the end of the 25-26 fantasy football season. Thank you very much for riders if you've been with us the entire season. And Izzy, how did you do in fantasy this season? How did things go?
I got second place and I was runner up in one league. Other league I got bounced pretty early in one of our buddy AJ's league. But at least I took second place. I took $900 home.
There you go. 900 jelly beans. Gotta love that.
Yeah. I took $900 home. I took $700 for getting second place, $200 for the best record. I ran, like I said, like I told you guys before, I ran into a bus of Drake May and Bijan Robinson in the championship. So that was and I think Puka Nacua and Kyron Williams.
I ran into a buzzsaw in the fantasy championship too in AJ's league, going up against Brock Purdy and Bijan Robinson and CMC. I want to say so. Yeah, it was not a good time, but I came a runner up in that league. I missed the playoffs in my league. I got spanked in Dan Kenny's league, and then I'm in this crazy league with Rodney Madison. I made the playoffs, but that's about it there. Overall, pretty good fantasy season for me. Pretty fun season, so one I'm going to remember very fondly. And let's talk about some of these awards. And we're a Positive Pete show here at Prime Sports World, so let's start on the positive side of the spectrum. Let's talk about the MVP. Who was the MVP of fantasy when in the 2025-26 season? Who was your MVP?
Well, I gotta go with the guy that scores the most points, and that's Christian McCaffrey. Let's put it like this: he was the most important player on his team. Without Christian McCaffrey, that team is not making the playoffs. Not having Brock Purdy for early part of the season, majority early part of the season. Now Kittle's down, but they didn't have him for a lot of spots, majority of the season. They're working with a backup tight end, Jake Tongs. They're working with, Ricky Pearsall was down. You have, literally, you're working with Kendrick Bourne and Jawan Jennings at wide receiver. Offensive line that, is experienced, but, getting a little older as well. So, what Christian McCaffrey was able to do this season was quite impressive. Had 100, almost 1,000, and I believe 1,000.
No, he was close on 1,000.
Close to 1,000. I'm sorry.
1,000 yards receiving, but he did have over 100 receptions, which is pretty unheard of at the running back position.
924 receiving yards.
And I hate to be the one that just to copy what you did, but copy your homework here. But I got Chris McCaffrey as my fantasy MVP as well. Not to mention, like, his value is his MVP-ness was even higher because he wasn't drafted like where he normally is drafted, given the fact that he's coming off that injury-riddled season, didn't play much the season before. But not to spoil what we're going to do later, Chris McCaffrey had 40 more points than the second closest player in fantasy. That's how dominant he was. He had over 400 points in PPR fantasy. He outscored the fantasy quarterback of the year is outscored by running back in PPR scoring. It's only the third time in the past 8 years And all 3 times it was done by Chris McCaffrey. 2019, 2023, and 2025. He went for 25.3 points per game in PPR scoring, 3 points more than the nearest running back, and 3.5 more than the closest position than any player at his position, Trey McBride. Just a dominant performance by Chris McCaffrey, just so valuable. At the running
he
back
was
position.
the fifth. He was on average. He was the 5th running back taken in all drafts, which is still high. But I mean, guys like Saquon Barkley, who had a pedestrian season for his standards, especially the season that he had last year, was quite pedestrian. And I mean, Derrick Henry and Bijan Robinson, who had a really great season as well. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey at being drafted the number 5, pretty much overall running back in this class to have the most points is quite impressive. So.
Swinging from there, let's talk about Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go first because I'm about to steal your guy. I'm taking Harold Fanning Jr. Mostly went undrafted in many drafts, but ended up becoming tight end number 4 in PPR formats. Just had a crazy stats. I mean, 72 catches, 731 receiving yards, 6 touchdowns. All of those rank in the top 6 amongst all tight ends in those categories. And I know there's going to be conversation around Tedero McMillan. My problem with Tedero McMillan is that he just disappeared at times during fantasy seasons where he'd have like 1 catch and the 1 catch would be a touchdown, or he'd have like 1 catch and like he just was too inconsistent for me because it's probably going to be most people's pick for the fantasy or just he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. But in my opinion, Tedero McMillan was too inconsistent for me. Harold Fanning Jr. was big time all season long, especially when David Njoku got hurt later on this season. Harold Fanning Jr.'s value just skyrocketed from there. He's my He's my Rookie of the Year in fantasy.
So I love the Harold Fanning. I mean, the Harold Fanning pick. I think he was great down the stretch of the season. We can talk about a lot of rookies that were kind of impacted by injuries, right? Like Tyler Warren. You got to look at like a guy like Ashton Zenzi, who had 1,000 yards or close to 1,000. I think he had 1,000 yards this season. He was like the 6th running back taken, but he got a bajillion. He got a lot of touches as opposed to this guy that I'm going to pick up, who is my Rookie of the Year, who plays for one of the best AFC teams, and that's TreVeyon Henderson. He had 9 total touchdowns. He had 4 games this year where he had multiple touchdowns in a game for a rookie. And I believe TreVeyon Henderson was and I'm looking it up right now, he was the 15th. Oh, no, he was the 20th running back taken in most drafts. And another guy I got to shout out as an honorable mention is Tyler Shough for the New Orleans Saints, because if you picked him up late, and he could be a waiver wire ad of the year, which is a good segue, because if you picked him up late in the deep league and you played him in the playoffs, you had a hell of a time riding that rookie because he was the 35th quarterback probably drafted, and probably wasn't even drafted at all in any draft. And Tyler Shough was great. But I mean, Emeka Egbuka was looking like the Rookie of the Year at first, right? And then the team started figuring him out. Injuries started to happen with him. I mean, obviously your quarterbacks weren't that great this year. Cam Ward wasn't that great, obviously. And there were some other guys that were kind of that you thought that were going to be decent rookies this season that weren't as good as those 2 guys, in my opinion, at TreVeyon Henderson and
I do like the TreVeyon Henderson because he was heading like massive like touchdowns, like 50-yard touchdowns, scampers. Like it seemed like every single week.
It was phenomenal, and I had to go against him a couple times down the stretch. So I mean, it was one of those things that you're like holy smokes, this guy is like the ultimate change of pace back, because you got Ramondre Stevenson, and you know what's crazy, David, is that he's not too far away from your 6th overall draft draft picked running back in Ashton Dempsey, who's another rookie.
Yeah.
Because he had 900 something yards, 9 touchdowns. Had more touchdowns than I think Ashton Dempsey had total had 10 total touchdowns. I think Travion Henderson had more total touchdowns as well. But Travion Henderson had to fight to get some tick. They had to fight to get some touches.
They had Roger Stevenson on their roster. I mean, they had the other dude who got hurt early in the Antonio Gibson, who's also eating some touches early in the season. So
I mean, he picked it up. He picked it up when Ramondre Stevenson went down with an injury, and I think that was it right there. Travion Henderson started taking off for the Patriots, and they wouldn't be where they're at this year without Travion Henderson this season.
I agree with you on that. From there, WW normally doesn't stand for Walter White or Walt Whitman. Waiver wire ad of the year. Izzy, who's your waiver wire ad of the year?
Personally, and I'm pretty sure that I don't want to steal any thunder from another guy because I got two guys, but I don't want to steal any thunder from another guy that you probably may pick. It's a quarterback, but I'm gonna go with.
I did not. Mine is not a quarterback.
Okay, cool. So I can mention him then. So I'll mention him after this first guy. I'll go my number one waiver wire ad of the year was Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah.
Wan'Dale Robinson was my number one because Malik Neighbors goes down. And Wan'Dale, and you thought Darius Slayton was going to be the guy, but it was actually Wan'Dale Robinson. He had the quietest 1,000-yard year that you'll ever.
Wan'Dale Robinson is the shortest player in the history of the NFL to have over 1,000 yards receiving.
That's incredible. Another waiver wire honorable mention and this is another rookie is Woody Marks, right? Because Joe Mixon,
when he could stay healthy, healthy,
right? Joe Mixon never played, and then obviously Nick Chubb was never healthy as well, and Woody Marks actually mid-season, at first they were just using him as a third down back, a receiving back. Then he started getting more touches, in terms of getting the ball, running the football. Woody Marks is another waiver, and he saved my season because I had a couple key running backs go down due to injury, and that championship run where I took runner up, and Woody Marks is a big key component for keeping me afloat. He had some big gains for me, and then I got to give the old wily veteran a shout out in Jacoby Brissett as a waiver wire ad of the year honorable mention. He took the reins, and he had a really good fantasy year. I think he was in probably top 25 in fantasy points. So might be top 30, something like that. He's up there, but he's definitely a waiver wire. And he was definitely a key player, especially if you added him. He had some really high numbers in some garbage games.
I can't do this math right now in my head, but he had 227 fantasy points for Jacoby Brissett, 60.2 fantasy points per game. He's got to be in the top 30. I just don't.
Yeah, top 30 at least. Top 30.
He was the 18th best quarterback in fantasy, but keep in mind he also didn't start until way later. So
yeah.
For me, it's staying in the Arizona, staying in the desert, down there with the big toaster. But I'm going Michael Wilson. Absolutely stepped up when he got the call. I mean, Maserati Marv, just pretty disappointing season for him at the wide receiver position. Even when he was healthy, he wasn't all that good. But Michael Wilson, man, put up some crazy numbers. And if you picked him up off waivers, like in the middle of November, he had the game against the San Francisco 49ers, 15 catches, 185 yards. The next week, 10 catches, 118 yards. And then he had a down week. But then he went on absolute heater after that. 2 touchdowns against the Rams, 1 against Houston, 1 against Atlanta, 1 against the Cincinnati Bengals, and then 1 against the Rams. Like, just absolute was a menace and was an absolute steal. When nobody drafted Michael Wilson, nobody had him on your roster. Like, all of a sudden, he has that crazy game in San Francisco. You picked him up, and basically he probably carried you to like a championship or close to a championship, as his number through down the stretch of the games here was just absurd.
Absolutely. Yeah, Michael Wilson was absolutely phenomenal. And if you're going to the negative side, they got two players on that team that can very much well be on that negative side.
We'll get there. Swinging from there, let's talk about sleeper of the year. And I'm going first. And my sleeper of the year,
no brainer,
is JSN. He was the 30 in ESPN. He was the 37th overall player drafted in fantasy. In the consensus in PPR scoring, he was the 33rd rated player drafted in player. He was the 14th wide receiver drafted in consensus drafts. And for him to be the number one guy is an absolute steal. You get him in the 4th round. He's putting up first round talent. And now JSN is going to have to be a first round pick. Like he's a first round pick going forward. If you have him in a sleeper, if like you have a dynasty league and you get to have a keeper, I mean JSN is the easiest keep you'll ever have in your freaking life. JSN is my keeper. Just put up crazy numbers, and I know he was a little bit disappointing down the stretch. You know, many people thought he'd break that Calvin Johnson record. Regardless, the dude was put up crazy numbers for the majority of the season. JSN is my sleeper.
Still led the league in receiving yards, so I mean he's still quite awesome. And then David, I'm glad you left some thunder for me because I had two guys on the list, and if you took one of them, I was going to take the other one. My sleeper of the year is Drake May. Obviously, I mean he's right there, right behind JSN in terms of points. JSN on fantasy. 359 in PPR, 359.9 fantasy points total. Drake May, 351.96 fantasy points total. And Drake May was the 16th quarterback taken on average in ESPN drafts. And so the 126th overall player. And he ended up being a top 10, top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Top 10 player, probably next to Josh Allen, the best quarterback in fantasy football. And he's probably going to take the MVP of this year's NFL. That's up for debate.
We'll see.
That's up for debate. But yeah, Drake May is definitely most improved. Sleeper of the year. Sorry. Ooh, I jumped the board a little bit. Yeah.
But so, yeah. I don't hate that. Swinging into most improved player. Who do you got as your most improved player?
I kind of revealed it a little bit there. My most improved player is Drake May.
I'm right there with you with Drake May. Yeah, he went from in 2024. He went from 2,276 passing yards, 15 touchdowns to 10 picks to swing around this season. 4,300 passing yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 picks. That doesn't even include what he did on the ground. 450 rushing yards and 421 in the season before, 4 touchdowns and 2. Yeah, he was the absolute most improved player in fantasy. It is not close.
Straight stud. And then I got honorable mentions. JSN, David mentioned him. He's definitely was a sleeper of the year. I thought he was most improved. He went from having a couple thousand yard seasons to bumping it up to being a number one wide receiver, number one in receiving yards this season. Almost on pace to break Calvin Johnson's record.
The crazy thing is, like, people were so concerned after, they trade away DK Metcalf, and they're like, oh, who's going to be the number one wide receiver now? JSN. He was awesome all season long.
Yeah. And then another honorable mention has to be James Cook. Because James Cook, I know 2,000 yard seasons back to back, but he elevated his performance this season to being, Jonathan Taylor was on pace, but it ended up, the offense kind of fell apart a little bit once Daniel Jones got hurt. But James Cook ended up leading the league in rushing this season. He went from, a 700 yard, I think it was like 600 yard progress in terms of rushing yards this season. And I believe, in terms of running backs being taken, James Cook was, he wasn't even in the top 10 being taken. He was,
he was close.
He was he was close. Yeah, he was real close. He's outside the top 10. He was the 13th running back taken in all drafts. So, 13th running back taken in all drafts. And he was
31st player. Yeah, 13th running back. Yeah, just
And he was pretty spectacular this season.
Although he was a touchdown machine last season.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was. And then I just remember the one game he had. I believe it might have been against the Jets, and everybody got off against the Jets, where he had like 150 yards in the first half or something like that. Yeah, Drake May also had a number on the Jets in the championship game against me. So, yeah.
From there, we're going to give out another positive award, talk about the Zombie of the Year. And if you're not aware of what this award is, it's basically who was somebody whose career was left for dead. They have comes back to life and has a virtuoso type performance this season. I'll let you go first.
My Zombie of the Year, I don't know if I'm going to go with Kyle Pitts Sr.
Yeah.
Of the Atlanta Falcons.
I like it.
Yeah. Kyle Pitts had 2 back-to-back years where he didn't even crack 700 yards. He didn't even crack, I think, over 50 catches. And we were all talking about how much of a bust he was because he had that great rookie year. I think he hit the injury plug that second year. And then the last 2 years, he was just not very good at all. And Kyle Pitts ended up, being what? He was I want to say, I got it up right now, 17th tight end taken in all ESPNs, just 100 on average, 139 overall player taken overall. And then when it comes to scoring, I mean, he had over he had close to 900 yards, he had 80 catches. Kyle Pitts was really good this year for Atlanta Falcons, and you know what? A lot of that has to do, and here's the turmoil. You went from Michael Penix Jr. to Kirk Cousins, so you had a quarterback turnover, but what really helped him was Drake London not being able to play. He ended up being the primary target in the passing game, and he actually, he had the big game towards the end of the season against Tampa Bay. So that Kyle Pitts Sr. is definitely a Zombie of the Year candidate winner for me.
I'm going with Javonte Williams. He doesn't get re-signed by the Denver Broncos coming off of – after that ACL tear, he has a really disappointing season with Denver, 513 yards. He signed a free agency contract with the Dallas Cowboys. You have 252 carries. You have 1,200 yards rushing. You have 11 touchdowns. You partner that up with 137 yards receiving and another 2 touchdowns. Javonte Williams had more touchdowns rushing this season than he did his previous 4 seasons in the NFL combined. Like, Javonte Williams was excellent this season, and his average draft position, he was the 170th player taken in PPR. He was the 37th running back taken in PPR, and I don't have the number in front of me exactly where he finished in terms of running backs, but I can't imagine he wasn't in the top 10. Javonte Williams was an absolute afterthought. Many people drafted him. They took Jaden Blue, the rookie running back. He was actually drafted higher than Javonte Williams in many fantasy football drafts. And for Javonte Williams to be the guy that he was, and if you took Javonte Williams like stupid late in drafts, that guy may have carried you to a championship because that's how freaking good he was this season.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Javonte Williams was great. And that whole Cowboys offense, the key players were really good. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jake Ferguson, all those guys. If you had all those guys on your fantasy teams, you were doing pretty well, and you drafted pretty well by drafting some of those guys. So.
And then the final positive award, we're going to be giving out our playoff MVP. These are the guy that really stepped it up in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the season when you absolutely had to have it. Who do you got as your fantasy MVP? The guy who showed up at the end there when you had to
fantasy playoff MVP. And this isn't just for me. This is just overall. But I'm going to have to go with King Henry.
Crown him.
King Henry, Derrick Henry had, especially the game he had against the Green Bay Packers, 4 touchdowns in that game. And then the previous game, he was on a roll too as well against the Patriots, where he had, I think, over 150 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. In back-to-back weeks, he had, 6 touchdowns. And those are 2 fantasy playoff rounds right there.
In the final 4 weeks of the season, when it mattered the most for Derrick Henry, 11 carries for 100 yards against Cincinnati, 18 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns against New England, and then 36 carries for 216 yards and 4 touchdowns against Izzy's Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
And then the final week of the season, many people don't play this final week, but 20 carries for 126 yards.
Yes.
Derrick Henry was put on an absolute show when you had to have it, when it was the most important time of your fantasy season. Derrick Henry showed up.
Derrick Henry did show up in some honorable mentions for me. Obviously, great. Yeah, for me personally, because I went against this guy and they literally knocked me out the playoffs. These two performances in week 17. These two performances in week 17. Drake May against the Jets and Bijan Robinson in week 17 just absolutely tore me a new one. And ousted me in the championship game. So those guys too got to get some love in the playoff MVP race.
Yeah, I'll give mine also to Puka Nacua. Was awesome down the stretch this season and almost really closed that gap fast between him and JSN when it comes to the bucket receiving yards for the season. Like they were neck and neck by the end of it. It's because Puka Nacua won an absolute tear towards the end of this season. So.
Yeah, Puka was awesome. Besides the week 17 game where he was kind of pedestrian in that game against Atlanta. Yeah. So
actually, I thought Puka Nacua was pretty good in that game. I don't really.
Well, he had the touchdown. He had the touchdown that saved him. Yeah, he had the touchdown that saved it. I thought like he had like under 100 yards. I thought he was gonna have a field day against Atlanta, and he had the touchdown that saved it at the end. You're right, David.
Yeah, so he still had pretty good production for majority of that game. 5 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. But the other games, 12 for 225 and 2 touchdowns, 10 for 76 and a touchdown. And then the final week of the season, this is in the playoffs, I think, actually. But the dude was on a heater against the Lions, 9 catches for 181 yards. So, Puka Nacua was on a heater. But not everything in fantasy football can be positive. We're going to swing into the negative side of things. And let's start first with least valuable player. Who do you got as your least valuable player?
Ooh, least valuable player's got to be Brock Bowers. I know, availability is the best ability. I know injuries played a part, but Brock Bowers was drafted pretty dang high. And in my Yahoo league, that I'm in the championship in, that I made it to the championship in. It's a dynasty league, so we're able to keep I think it's a third rounder or up, and I picked Brock Bowers pretty low his rookie year, so I was able to keep him. But he was the first tight end overall taken, and I don't even think he was a top 50 player this season overall.
Well, unfortunately for him. Unfortunately for him, he got banged up early and just kind of
then not good quarterback play as well. But then here I go though. I got some ties here. DK Metcalf, least valuable player for me, and Terry McLaurin. Both of those guys were just terrible this year. And I want to say that. Well, I don't want to say DK was super. Do you see how many times did I complain about DK?
He was unstartable for majority of the fantasy season. Like when DK
and he was one of my he was one of my top 3 wide receivers taken in the draft. So it was very hard to start that guy, and actually picking up Wan'Dale Robinson actually saved me a little because I started him a couple times in certain scenarios on that team, and then Terry McLaurin obviously with JD5 going down. Really hurt him, but he was also injured as well. But he just didn't have a really good season at all. He did show flashes at the end of the year, but majority of the season, Terry McLaurin was not that guy. And I picked him, like I said, I picked him and DK Metcalf, and as my top 3 receivers along with Zay Flowers. So
my least valuable player in fantasy goes to a guy who was not hurt. He just didn't play well. I guess he played fine, but his quarterback play was not good at all. This guy finished no worse than the wide receiver 7 in each of his previous healthy seasons. This season, he was the PPR wide receiver 25. He was the top 3 fantasy wide receiver drafted according to ADP heading into the season. There's none other than Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson was hold on. He was the 25 PPR wide receiver number 25. Jefferson finished only inside the top 12 when it comes to fantasy wide receivers twice in the season. Just a disappointing season for Justin Jefferson. He just barely got to 1,000 yards. 64.6 catchable target rating on the year. One of the worst marks of the position coming into week number 17. He saw 130 targets, but he just wasn't good this season. And I'm sure he was fine, but his quarterback play wasn't good. For a guy who was drafted as high as he was drafted, he probably sank a lot of fantasy football leagues.
Oh, he definitely did. Still got 1,000. He still got 1,000 yards. I mean, in terms of statistic-wise, barely that last game. I mean, I think that's the only reason why he played was to get 1,000 yards.
Oh,
but
100%.
I mean, obviously, I mean, the quarterback play, was the issue for him, right?
I mean, if you want to give it to a
that great.
if you want to give it to a non-quarterback issue wide receiver, I mean, we're talking about BTJ too. I mean, BTJ had good quarterback play this season, and we started off having BTJ in. I picked him to be like offensive player of the year at the beginning of the season. I'm pretty sure, and he was just
better than him.
It was Parker Washington was better than him. Jacoby Myers, when they traded for mid-season, was better than him. BTJ was like unplayable, baffling after the season.
And I don't even think he was hurt. Was he hurt?
No, he was. No, he missed.
He was not good.
He did miss some time, but he had drops like crazy, and. Yeah, just a really disappointing season for BTJ and Justin Jefferson. Look for them to bounce back next season. Hopefully the quarterback play gets better for Justin Jefferson, but who knows? Let's talk about worst waiver wire ad. It's my turn. My worst waiver wire ad is Keon Coleman. After week number 1, many people went out on their waiver wire. They added Keon Coleman. They were like, oh, this is going to be the guy. He catches that touchdown. He catches that crazy 2-point conversion in that same game. And you're like, oh, yeah, this guy's going to be awesome this season. And then he stunk up the place. He had 2 games where he didn't play because he was in the doghouse in November. Keon Coleman is he's my fantasy worst waiver wire ad of the season, Keon Coleman, because many people use like a high waiver. Like if you lost your first week, you were like, oh, I'm gonna get Keon Coleman. You got him, and then he was terrible. You basically had to drop him like 3 weeks later. Terrible, not good at all.
I drafted Keon Coleman and held on to him for quite some time, and yeah, man, it was very frustrating to own Keon Coleman because of and I wish you had an all knucklehead list. In fantasy, I think that might be the shit list. The all knucklehead. He deserves to be on there. Knucklehead, complete knucklehead. I mean, dude is like showing up to team meetings late, talking back to coaches, dropping passes, not running routes fast enough. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, you're not George Pickens. I mean, at least George Pickens was able to produce on the field, and he's a knucklehead. You just weren't able to do both. You weren't able to keep your head, you be professional, and you weren't able to do anything on the football field. So I totally agree with that. And that's even better than my waiver wire ads. I think you might have took the cake with that one. I have 3 guys on my worst waiver wire ads. And so I have DeAndre Hopkins. He's one of them. And I had some so this is, the league where I had some issues in all 4 of my leagues, like just with wide receiver play, just inconsistent. Obviously, the one league, and I believe it was no, it wasn't AJ's league. It was my buddy Mike's league where I drafted Malik Neighbors pretty high, and I was just scrambling to just find a wide receiver replacement. And I tried a whole bunch of things. I drafted DeAndre Hopkins. I think he had like a touchdown or 2 in one game, and like he didn't do anything after that. Another guy, Jonnu Smith. Just wasn't able to do anything at the tight end. I thought that he'd play a bigger part in that system in Pittsburgh. He didn't do anything, for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I picked him up at some point, and I mean, he put up like 2 points for me. And then I got to go Xavier Legette is another guy. Worst waiver wire ad. I mean, this guy, by the end of the year, I mean, Jalen Coker, obviously, a rookie Ted McMillions was better. Jalen Coker ended up superseding him in the depth chart. And so, Xavier Legette was just not good of a pickup. So, those 3 guys were pretty bad. Pretty bad.
From there, yeah, I totally agree with the Xavier Leggett thing because I picked him up in a league and I ended up dropping him like 2 weeks later.
Yes.
He's been terrible as a first round pick in the NFL.
Oh yeah, for sure,
he's for sure on bus watch. From there, let's talk about heartbreak of the year. This is a guy that was on the verge of really breaking out and then had some sort of injury or something happened where his season was cut short. Who do you guys your heartbreak of the year?
Oh God, you know what? I didn't even do this one. I got a list on my phone. I didn't do it, but I'll pick one. I kind of have one in a way.
I got Tucker Kraft as my heartbreak of the year. I mean, the dude was going on pace to be the number one fan. Maybe not Trey McBride, but he was on pace to be the number 2 fantasy tight end. I mean, he was absolutely he was a steal of the draft to where he was drafted. I mean, I don't really remember his exact draft position, but he couldn't have been very high. I mean, I got him really late in AJ's league. And hold on, ADP for Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft was the 106th overall player taken. He was the 11th tight end, and the dude was on the verge of having an extremely special season. And for it to be cut short the way that it was in a game where he was dominant in, it just breaks my heart a little bit. He had 6 touchdowns. It's more than he had, almost as many as he had the season before, and was really on the verge of having a virtuoso tight end position, tight end season. It just kind of disappointing that he got hurt. I was really excited to see what he did for the remainder of the season. Tucker Kraft is my heartbreak of the year.
So I got a quick and easy one. It's Malik Neighbors. He was one of my top 2 picks, picked in the draft. He got hurt, tore his ACL, tore his meniscus, really just ruined my fantasy team. I'm not saying that he's Godspeed, hope you get healthy, but he tore his ACL, tore his meniscus in week 4. And then obviously the Giants.
I mean, the season before, like the game right before that, he had that crazy game with Russell Wilson against the Cowboys. Those crazy numbers, and then for him to go, was that the same game?
No. That was week 2. So he had 33 points in week 2. Week 3 against Kansas City, he only had 2 fantasy points. After that, so he was already. It was inconsistency on that offense came into play, but that was what Jackson Dart's probably first. I mean, Russell Wilson was probably, I think, starting still against KC. And then that week 4 game was when Jackson Dart, I think, took the reins over and started. He's a heartbreak of the year because, I picked him so high and that was kind of a waste of life for me. So really ruined a fantasy team in one of my leagues. So.
From there, so we gave out the fantasy playoff MVP earlier. This is the playoff least valuable player. The guy when the lights were the brightest. This is the guy who didn't had mediocre or pedestrian stats. Who is your least valuable player when it comes to fantasy playoffs?
Least valuable player when it comes to the fantasy playoffs gotta be DK Metcalf. I mean, fam, like, dude, you literally smacked the fan and cost me a damn. Well, I don't think I was ever gonna win with Drake May and Bijan Robinson. Having the weeks they had.
The thing is, like, how many teams made it to the fantasy football where fantasy football still mattered if you had DK Metcalf on your team?
Yeah, I know, and he was out week 17 and week 18. So that was just the cherry on top of the disappointing season being suspended for those 2 games and 2 big games at that for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they ended up winning. So and getting into the playoffs regardless, but still, he almost cost them. I mean, one of the games that he played against the Browns, that he was suspended against the Browns, a lot of those red zone plays would have ended that game, and they would have never been in a predicament against Baltimore like they should have, and that's because of DK Metcalf. So
for me, this is a guy that for the regular season was awesome, but when it comes down to the stretch in the final couple weeks of the season, fantasy football playoffs, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. His game against the Los Angeles Rams in week number 15, 4 catches for 20 yards. He only had 13 carries for 38 yards. That game against the Dallas Cowboys, he had 7 carries for 2 yards. He was bailed out by that receiving touchdown. And then the week after that, he goes up against the Minnesota Vikings, 17 carries for 41 yards, 2 catches for 23 yards. And then the game against the Chicago Bears, he had a pretty good game there, but not a lot of teams actually play in week number 18, but 19 for 80. And then he also had a receiving touchdown. Just not like the Jahmyr Gibbs numbers that we're used to seeing out of him in the final 4 games of the season. When you needed him to show up the most, he kind of disappeared a little bit. And you needed that production out of him. So that's Jahmyr Gibbs, overall pretty good season for him. But the final 4 weeks of the season, just not great performances for Jahmyr Gibbs.
No, not at all. And I wholeheartedly agree. I think Jahmyr Gibbs, performance, DK Metcalf being a knucklehead, all time. I mean, welcome to the shit list, knucklehead list. Jahmyr Gibbs certainly doesn't belong on there, but godly, man. I mean, you got some guys that just really scratch your head like down the end of the season. Like, what are you thinking, man?
Moving on from there, this is the Thanks for Nothing award. This is a guy that either you drafted or you picked up off waiver wires and just literally never played. And for me, it's Joe freaking Mixon. Because of the wishy-washy reporting on Joe Mixon, many people, including myself, drafted Joe Mixon in fantasy football leagues and then kept Joe Mixon on their roster for months. And for him to never suit up and never play, he was the 115th overall player. He was running back 29. He was the 79th overall player in standard scoring. For him to never suit up and never take a snap, just thanks for nothing, Joe Mixon. Also, I hope you get healthy because you are a very good running back. Hopefully you can play a little bit next season. But we never even knew what was wrong with him. Like, it was just baffling the whole time. Joe Mixon, thanks for nothing award.
So me and you have the same guy. It's Joe Mixon for me too as well. And I ended up actually with Joe Mixon, I ended up picking up Nick Chubb and Woody Marks at some point. I think I picked them up probably in the same week because I just got tired of the bad reporting that was going on with Joe Mixon. Is he coming back? He's having setbacks. Oh, he's going to come back this week. Oh, he's not going to come back this week. Oh, all of a sudden, bro, he's just not going to play anymore. Thank you a lot because I picked him pretty decently high for a running back. I think it might have been like a running back 2 or 3 or some shit like that. And Joe Mixon just absolutely he's fit for that award. Thank you for nothing, Joe Mixon.
The final award that nobody wants to win is Welcome to the Shit List. Izzy, you got some new guys that are going into your shit list?
Yes, going straight into my shit list. I got 2 players. Numero uno is DK Metcalf. He's definitely on my shit list. I will never draft that guy ever again. I always compare him. Who do I compare him to, David? Every time in the group chat, who do I compare him to? I say he's the Dwight Howard of wide receivers. He is the Dwight Howard of wide receivers. He has no bag. He is Dwight Howard. Actually, it's an insult to Dwight Howard. Actually, it's Dwight Howard. Because Dwight Howard's a Hall of Famer. DK Metcalf, you'll be lucky to even sniff a gold jacket the way you've been playing, the last couple seasons. But yeah, man, this guy, he's got all the physical attributes to be one of the best wide receivers in the league. And he just, I don't know if he doesn't work on his route tree. I don't know if but all he has is a fade route and a go route. That's all he got. And maybe a crossing route. He has his hips are so damn, they're so stiff. He's bad in and out of his breaks. I mean, nothing about DK Metcalf screams special. The only thing that screams special is that he's a brute. And that's exactly what Dwight Howard used to do. Catch the ball on a post, left, right, I'm bigger than you, dunk. That's DK Metcalf's game on the football field. And then the second guy that's on my shit list is Michael Penix Jr., who I picked in 3 of my leagues to be my starting quarterback. I ended up picking other players, and I just was like, oh, yeah, Michael Penix. I thought I had the sleeper of the year, David. I could have sworn I thought I had the sleeper of the year with Michael Penix Jr. I swear. And this guy absolutely did shit. And so he is on my shit list. I will never draft him ever again. Somebody else can have that. So yeah, I absolutely hated owning that guy. and then he got hurt and he's out for the season. I was like, yeah, that sucks. So yeah, Michael Penix Jr. definitely welcome to the shit list, buddy.
I got two players to add to my shit list, and they're both at the quarterback position. And it's not really their fault that they're on my shit list, but they got to be here. I have two separate leagues where I drafted Joe Burrow very early, and when Joe Burrow went down, I had to resort to my backup quarterback. And Joe Burrow is really close to being added to this shit list because this is 2 out of 3 seasons where I've had Joe Burrow on my teams, and he's been banged up and injured and out early. But I resorted to Tua Tagovailoa to try to replace him in one league. Fail. Really big fail. And then in my other league, I had Geno freaking Smith, who I had to start because it's a 16-team league. And so it's stupid deep. And I had to start Geno Smith every freaking week because there were no other quarterbacks. And somehow in that league, I made the playoffs with Geno Smith as my quarterback. But Geno Smith was brutal all season long. It's not really his fault. The offensive line wasn't any good, and Brock Bowers was in and out of the lineup. But Geno Smith, welcome to the shit list to him and Tua Tagovailoa. Joe Burrow, real close to making my shit list. Another guy, another quarterback, also close to making my shit list. Sam freaking Darnold, who I traded for, and I thought he was going to be the final piece. I thought he was going to be the final piece to a championship puzzle for him to be just absolute ass down the stretch.
Lord, man. Oh, my gosh, man. That was a big deal. Holy smoke.
So, yeah, I thought he was going to be the final. He was terrible. Like, he was for sure not worth all the drama that it caused because fuck you, Sam Darnold. I mean that in the kindest way possible, but you absolutely sucked after I traded for you. Like,
oh, brother, man. Oh my gosh. Yeah, he caused you a lot of drama, and Sam Darnold was just terrible down the stretch. Man.
Absolutely trash. But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. This has been our 25-26 Fantasy Football Awards show. But before we get up out of here, like we do every single week here on Fantasy Football Weekly, let's talk about some high scorers. And I imagine you already looked up the highest scoring players for the entire season. So I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm going to ask you a couple of different questions. First, let's start into week number 18, the final week of the regular season. Do you know who the number one scorer in fantasy was in week number 18?
Oh, okay. There you go. Now we're talking because I did look up the whole season because that was the emphasis of my show of the show. So, jeez, Puka Nacua.
Puka Nacua is number 6 on this list, or 7, 6 or 7. He's not number 1. I will give you a hint. He plays in the AFC. He's a running back in the AFC.
Chase Brown.
No.
Chase. No. Hold on. Said running back in the AFC. Ooh. Number 1?
Number 1 in scoring. He scored 35 points.
Derrick Henry.
Also not Derrick Henry.
No.
He did because he didn't get the touchdowns in that week. We'll just give it to you. I don't think you'd get this. So 35.3 fantasy points against the Miami Dolphins. Ramondre Stevenson, 7 carries for 131 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a receiving touchdown in that game. 35.3 fantasy points. Rounding out the top 5 for week number 18, we have Zay Flowers, Alec Pierce, Mitchell Trubisky, and my guy, Tyron Tracy Jr. with 27.9 fantasy points. And I'm sure you didn't look this up. Another question, how about fantasy defenses? Do you know who was the number 1 scorer in defensive rate for the entire season? Give the defense a little bit of love here from Prime Sports World as we talk about that defensive side of the ball. Number 1 defense in fantasy in 2025. Can you name it? Can you guess it?
Can't be. It's not Chicago, is it?
It is not Chicago.
Chicago has the most turnovers, though.
Yeah, but they're not.
They gave him a lot of yards. They gave a lot of yards.
They scored 100 points fewer than the number one team.
That's incredible. Oh, the Houston Texans.
Houston Texans number 2, 173.0 fantasy points.
Oh, jeez.
Number 2.
Oh man, am I gonna get this? Oof. I don't think I'm gonna get this, man. Let's go. Oof. Let's go with the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo Bills not anywhere near the top 10.
Close, yeah.
No.
I'm flat. I don't know. You got me lost, man.
Seattle Seahawks is the number 1.
Oh man, Jesus Christ! How did I forget about them, dude? They went crazy, man.
Scored 7 total touchdowns. They had 18 picks, 7 forced fumbles, 47 sacks, and then they had 3 punts blocked. Good for 185 fantasy points, 10.9 points per game. Rounding out the top 5, Seattle, Texans, Denver, the Cleveland Browns, and Duval County, Jacksonville Jaguars. And then finally, last question before we get up out of here. So there have been some standout performances in 2025. Looking at the top 5 scorers in one individual game, do you know who had the best 5 performances of the season?
Best 5 performances out of the top 5 guys?
So these are, they're not like, so this is.
Oh, okay. Oh, just overall.
Yeah. So season wide, who had the top 5 performances this season in fantasy?
Well, Derrick Henry's got to be one of them.
Derrick Henry, number 4, 45.6 fantasy points. Unfortunately, against your Green Bay Packers.
Yes.
260 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns.
Puka Nacua is definitely one of them with 200 yards.
Puka Nacua in against the Seattle Seahawks, 46.5 fantasy points.
Drake
May had 225 yards and 2 touchdowns. Drake May is actually not in the top 10.
Oh my gosh, against the Jets, man, that was a hell of a game. Okay, Bijan Robinson.
Bijan Robinson also not in the top 5.
Oh my gosh, man, they just absolutely destroyed me. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen was number 6 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with 44.7 fantasy
That was
points.
a hell of a game. Yeah, where he had 5 or 6 touchdowns. Yeah.
3 total touchdowns, including 3 of them rushing. So
yeah. Oh, dude, this is gonna be hard.
That Bijan Robinson game.
Jahmyr Gibbs is one of them. Jahmyr Gibbs got to be one of them.
Jahmyr Gibbs is the number 1 scorer in fantasy. He had 264 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns. Good for 55.4 fantasy points against Kristen Simpson's New York Football Giants. So now you're missing 2 and 5.
Missing number 2 and number 5. I feel like number 2. I feel like number 2 is like an unknown player.
No.
Right? No, he's very known. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty well known. JSN is not the answer. His best performance this season was only actually I don't know. I don't have his number on here.
Okay.
This just a hint for number 2. This guy was an MVP candidate early in the season.
Matthew Stafford.
Not Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is still an MVP candidate. This guy was just early in the season. This guy was an MVP candidate.
Early in the season MVP candidate. Man, it can't be Lamar Jackson. He didn't have a good game. He didn't have a great season at all.
Running back.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
49.6 fantasy points in early November against the Atlanta Falcons. 286 yards and 3 total touchdowns. And now we just need number 5. You may not get this one. It happened in early November. Or December. Sorry, I think it was on Thursday Night Football.
Did Travion Henderson?
Not Travion Henderson.
Because he had like a 3 touchdowns.
It was on Thursday Night Football, and this loss by the team that he went up against was part of the downfall of this particular football team going down the stretch.
Oh man,
you talked about him earlier.
Quarterback, running back, wide receiver.
You gave him an award earlier.
I gave him.
I think if I give you the
Wan'Dale Robinson,
it was not Wan'Dale Robinson.
damn man. Jesus. DK Metcalf.
No. Oh, no.
No, what? You're like he attributed to the downfall.
Yeah, this team beat another team, and they ended up not making the playoffs. Not because of this loss, but they lost like 5 games in a row after this loss.
Man, you got me. I give up, man.
The tight end, he's a tight end.
You said I gave. Oh, Kyle Pitts against Tampa Bay.
Kyle Pitts against Tampa
Bay. Oh my
45.6 fantasy points, 166 yards, and 3 total touchdowns. And if you're curious for some morbid reason, here's the top 10: Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Bowers, who had that crazy game against the Jaguars earlier in the season. The sun god, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and there's the unknown Trey Tucker, who had 40.9 fantasy points, rounded out the top 10. But yeah, that's been our fantasy football show. That's been our recap of fantasy football for week number for 25-26 NFL season. Thank you everybody who rode with us, gave us comments, put anything down in the comment section, talk to us during the shows. We do appreciate all of that fan support. We're going to be back here again next week, next season, so keep an eye out for all that stuff. We're going to give you our early fantasy football rankings, not next week, but eventually. So keep an eye out for all that content. David Huppman, Israel Rivera, and we appreciate the contribution and support here at Prime Sports World.
Absolutely, guys, man. You guys watch out. Go ahead and subscribe to the TikTok as well and the Instagram page. So you guys don't want to miss, some of the, some of that stuff that goes up on those pages. So, yeah, there we go.
Izzy will be back here on Friday. I'll be back here next week breaking down all the things going on in the National Football League as we get down to the nitty gritty. Y'all take it easy. And Izzy, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen. Bring the heat 24/7, baby. And you want to know something? Listen, guys, listen. Next year, don't draft Michael Penix Jr. That's all I got to say. I'm sick of you guys. I'm saying, you know what? And by the way, that story that you told, I put it in the reel. I chopped it up and put it in the reel. That story was absolute gold. And I was like, I couldn't break down none of the shit you guys were saying. And that was the only good thing that I saw. You and TJ's little rant about Ben Johnson. So I everything else was a bunch of Chicago Bear homerism. So yes,
we'll be back here next season breaking down all things fantasy. You guys all take it easy and stay safe out there. And bear down, baby. Let's go.
Let's go Rams.